Okay, today we are going to talk about something. Today's episode is really going to be interesting because today we are going to talk about bravery and pride. And we have been talking about so many things so far, like the law of attraction, the mind, thinking, and so on. And what I've realized is that it doesn't really matter how much stuff you know. It doesn't really matter what you know or what is in your toolbox. At the end of the day, you're going to have to be brave, meaning you're going to have to do things that you don't feel like doing them. You're going to have to do things that you don't like doing because that's what it means to be brave. At some point, it's bravery and pride. If you don't have bravery, you're then not going to be able to defend your principles, and therefore you're not going to have pride within you, because we all have goals, and between you and your goals there is fear, and that fear is preventing you from actually getting what is it that you're wanting to get. And if you do not overcome those fears, if you do not go through those fears, you will actually never get what you actually want. And this one is super interesting because every single person that you admire, every single person that you look up to, those are people who actually did something. Those are people who actually accomplished something that you weren't able to do them. That's why you admire them. That's why you look up to them. It's because they were brave. They did something that you were afraid to do. So if we look at the society today, regardless of who that is, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, all those people, Napoleon Bonaparte, Alexander the Great, all of those people were people full of bravery. They were brave to do things regardless of how they felt, doing things regardless of what people say to them. They had something, they stood up for it. They had an idea, they stood up for it. They had principles, they stood up for it. That's why we look up to those people today. That's why we are still talking about those people today. It's because they actually stood up for something. They stood up for something and they did it regardless of what was going on inside of them. Because like I was saying, I talk a lot here about so many things. We talk about a lot of attraction. We talk about self-improvement, personal development, all of this stuff. We talk about TechnoTutor. All those tools, you can have them. However, if you do not stood up and be brave and have pride within yourself and use them so that you can actually stand and go through all those resistance, all those pain, then nothing is actually gonna change in your life. And without bravery, and bravery means, because if you look into the word bravery, it means to do something regardless of how you feel. And the way we've been programmed nowadays in the society is to actually feel good before we actually do anything. But which is really counterintuitive, because when you look at, if you want to have more, you're going to have to become more, meaning you're going to have to get out of your comfort zone. Interesting. And when you get out of your comfort zone, what do you think it's going to be like? Is it going to be like rainbow and fun, or is it going to be challenging, resistance, pain, and so on? It's the latter one. It's going to be challenging. You're not going to want to do it. But that's where you need pride, to stand within principle, to stand within what you said you're going to do. That's what it means to be brave, right? Meaning being brave is to actually do what you said that you're going to do. It's to stand by your words. What you say is what you get. How are you using your words? Because nowadays, the way we look at it is, if it's not fun, then it's not worth doing it. Because we have been taught, well, you need to have fun, you need to feel it. If you don't actually feel it, you're not going to do it. But we see people doing things even when they don't feel like it, and we admire them. We look up to them, but we do not want to do the same thing because we think that they were lucky or whatever, or we are different, or we are special, and we want to do it in another way. But that's not going to do. That's not going to cut it. Regardless of what you know, you're going to have to stand. You're going to have to be brave. That's what is required nowadays to be brave. Bravery is to actually stand for something and doing it regardless of how you feel. That's what's going to take you to the destination. That's what's going to take you to where you're wanting to go. Because we all know, at least I hope so, sometimes we think that, no, we all know, I'm going to get back to that. Sometimes we think that because we know something, it should be easy. It should not be painful. And we also know that the only way to get out of a storm is to actually go through the storm. It's not by running away from it. If you run away from it, it's going to chase you for your entire existence. But the only way to go it is to actually turn back, face it, and go through it. We know that, but we don't do it because we say, oh, it's going to be hard. It's going to be painful. That's where you need to be brave. That's where you need to stand. That's where you need to have pride so that you can actually face the thing. You can actually face the thing because that's what's actually going to take you to where you're wanting to go. But if you do not actually face that point of fear inside of you and be brave, you will never get nowhere because you don't have bravery. Yes, we have to be brave. We need bravery nowadays because nowadays, most of the time, we are just chasing after fun, happiness, hedonism, all of this kind of crazy shit. But that's in itself has been destroying us more than we can actually imagine. Because nowadays, imagine, like, just like 70 years ago, we had World War. Meaning people had to go out and just fight. Now we don't have that anymore, at least now, which is coming. But now, you listening to this, you're probably not in that situation. So meaning, it's not that tough. But because we have become so weak, we don't stand no more. We don't have any bravery no more. We don't have zero pride anymore. We are just lazy, just sitting around looking for something fun, like junkies, like drug addicts. But where's that going to lead us? To the eternal destruction of humanity. But that's why we need bravery. We need to stand for something. And now we are standing into changing the system. Changing into actually creating something that's actually best. But in order for us to get there, we first need to stand within ourselves because you can't even get out of the bed in the morning. Jesus. That's where we need to start. You need to start there to get out of the fucking bed. That's where you need to fucking start. To get out of the bed. To say, okay, I said I'm going to do this and then fucking do it. Because that's what's going to build momentum. That's what I'm going to actually teach you to hold on to your words. Because what you say is what you get. If you're not constructing your mindset or your vocabulary properly in how you're actually using them, you're going to condemn yourself into eternal damnation. That's why we have to be brave. Bravery is what's going to take us to where we are wanting to go. Without it, we are lost. Be brave.